sex. They're no longer together as an X-File. Oh. What's up, everybody? Today we are talking about the X-Files, episode 3, season 11. The name of the episode is +1. Whoops, my chair just went back. This episode should have been called It. No, not that It. It as in it, because it happened. Again, not that it happened. It should just be called It Happened. Now, there is a really good X-File in this episode, but unfortunately, the X-File is being overshadowed by It. Maybe it's not so unfortunate, but Mulder-Scully basically did It. Now, shippers everywhere are celebrating. If you look online, tweets are just going crazy. People are just going nuts. All you horny fans who've had blue balls for 25 years, obviously something happened. I'm a little bit conflicted though, because I'm not too crazy about the circumstances of which it happened. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but I'm just gonna start off right at the bat with this scene right here.
Get up, get dressed.
Come back to bed.
They're coming after me.
That's how they operate, Mulder.
I know how they operate.
You're just playing into it.
Spare me the pop psychology, okay?
Mulder, you have to calm down.
Scully, put a dimmer on that afterglow and get yourself to the hospital. Put a dimmer on that afterglow.
Despite the fact that they've had such a tremendous amount of sex during the regular.
I'm conflicted. Again, for one thing, you guys, I didn't hear any of the dialogue in the scene. It was as if there wasn't even any talking going on. I heard nothing of what was said. I just was paying attention to the fact that Scully didn't have her clothes on, and also Mulder had a shit-eating grin on his face before he saw his twin, which I'm actually okay with. Being two Mulders in this world, yeah, we're good with that. And so by missing the dialogue, I actually missed the afterglow line. Chris Carter wrote this episode. I never thought that Chris Carter would allow Mulder and Scully, the monks of television, to actually imply they had sex. Now, guys, it's not new. I mean, we know they've had sex before. They were in bed during the movie I Want to Believe. They had a scene, they were cuddling. We know they had sex the old-fashioned way back in season 7. It's pretty much implied. It was implied in all things. As a matter of fact, the scene with Mulder looking in the mirror, many fans have pointed out, parallels the scene of Scully looking in the mirror in the episode where it's implied that they had sex in season 7, which was all things. So we have that. The spooning moment isn't really anything new either, because we've already seen them spoon in Requiem. We've seen them spoon in I Want to Believe. So the spooning really isn't anything new. I apologize in advance if you're not a shipper and you want to talk about the actual X-File, because we're gonna get to that. We're gonna go through the whole episode, but we need to take a second and enjoy this moment. However, I know that not every fan is happy, and I'm a little bit conflicted about that. The reason why is because they hooked up under questionable circumstances, and the relationship is still very ambiguous in some ways. We don't know where they stand as a relationship because of the conversation that happened prior to that bed scene. I apologize right now, I just changed the camera angle because all the lights were reflecting off my glasses. It is what it is. Anyways, in that bed scene, we had a discussion between Mulder and Scully where Scully is talking about maybe getting a little bit older and maybe Mulder will meet someone. Huh? What is happening there? Like, what happened? Again, we're gonna get to the actual X-File, but this in itself is an X-File. Scully saying that maybe Mulder would meet someone younger and better for him that could have babies. When she says maybe she wants to have a baby, and Mulder's saying she doesn't know who she'd have a baby with.
And besides the fact that I don't have anyone to have one with, even if I could.
What the heck? She's sitting there snuggling with a guy that looks like that who loves her, and she doesn't have anyone to have a baby with? I think that the discussion before kind of ruined the afterglow for me because of that. Honestly, I would rather watch the conversation on mute. But I want to know what you guys think. If you guys liked the conversation, if you thought it was good, a conversation, if you thought the script was good, then leave a comment and let me know. If you thought it was an awkward conversation, let me know. If you hated the conversation, let me know. I want to know what you guys thought of that conversation, because there's definitely a lot of conflicted views about how that was. On one hand, I'm happy that Mulder and Scully are finally getting some, but on the other hand, I don't want Mulder and Scully to be friends with benefits. They're each other's touchstones. They're constants. They're 1 in 5 billions. How can they be reduced to just having midnight booty calls? Anyways, one thing I also wanted to point out was right before this supposedly happened, the pan away from them when they actually snuggle and she says, I can think of something. right before you see Scully's doppelganger in the room. My question is, did Scully's doppelganger watch the whole thing? I do want to talk about the X-File episode and the actual X-File here, but before we do that, we have to have a little bit of a victory dance because Chris Carter allowed Mulder and Scully to have sex. So let's start at the beginning of the episode. Do you guys ever get that moment where you're watching something but you're not really taking in what's happening because you're thinking about something else, and you watch something and your mind starts to wander and you have a hard time paying attention or listening? Yeah, I had that moment. So I had a hard time focusing on too much of the episode because I was really busy listening to this cover of David's song, which I love. It wasn't at all what I was expecting. I was also really busy tweeting and plugging David's album because I think David's music should be heard because I think he's a really good songwriter. And it was really cool to hear that in the episode. And actually the song was a much extended version of David's song, so it kind of like almost went into a different song completely by the end of it. And then if you guys watch the intro, you'll see at the end of the intro, the truth is out there twice. And then we get to Mulder and Scully in the office because we are back to the format of Mulder and Scully starting the episode in the office talking about a case and looking through the X-Files, so I really like that part of the episode. When Mulder shows Scully the file, they basically say that this is a case of schizophrenia or mental illness. So when Mulder and Scully go to talk to Archie, they learn that Archie has actually had 6 different DUIs, so maybe he has a problem with alcohol. We then get to the scene where Mulder and Scully are out on the road in what looks kind of like a wildlife area, and this is the scene where the bear photobombed the X-Files filming, and here's a clip that Gillian posted of the bear photobombing and almost eating Gillian.
Yeah. Wait, hold on, let me get it. Wait, hold on. Freeze it, freeze it.
I'm just asking Gillian to send it to me.
One more time.
Mulder basically thinks the kid's story makes a lot of sense. Scully says, nope, debunk, he was drunk. We then see Mulder and Scully at a psychiatric hospital where they talk to the physician who explains that all of these patients have seen their doppelganger. Can I just say this is really superb acting. It's absolutely impeccable by Karin Konoval. Also, I think that Judy's crushing on Mulder just a little bit.
Such a handsome man as yourself.
Judy explains to Mulder and Scully that she plays a telepathic version of Hangman with her brother. Mulder and Scully need a place to sleep, and this is where the shippy stuff starts. And Mulder is very quick to share a suite with Scully. Ooh, because maybe they're gonna do it.
It's just a sweet.
We'll take it. Just trying to get some shut.
I'm glad to hear it.
Glad to hear it. She doesn't seem too thrilled that Mulder wants to share a suite with her. And Mulder is looking a little bit rejected. We see Scully in bed, and Mulder wakes her up and scares her a little bit, but not for reasons that you think. Archie is dead. R.I.P. Archie. Mulder and Scully are not in agreement over whether it was suicide or not, but we do see a sketchy looking security guard down the hallway. So this security guard turns out to be Chucky, who we learn later on is played by Karin Konoval. Scully also goes back to talk to Judy, who doesn't seem to be the same Judy that we talked to the day before.
Judy is Agent Scully.
Yeah, this dookie looks like cat food, and it's basically what Judy is eating, because Judy eats dookie and she flings dookie, because obviously people like to fling their shit. And not only did she literally fling dookie, she figuratively flung dookie at Scully by age-shaming her. Can we talk about the age-shaming a little bit? Can we talk about the fact that there's nothing we can do about the fact that we're growing older scientifically? People get older and women get older, and there is nothing we can do to not be older. That's life. People get older. I want to take a second. I don't want to go too far off, but I want to fucking say it. I've been age shamed by people in the fandom. Multiple times by younger fans in this fandom. Also, if someone doesn't age well and they look older, which Gillian doesn't, how is that their fault? And why should they be made to feel bad about that? I've also seen people body shame in this fandom too. If you want to use the way someone looks to feel bad about themselves or make them feel bad about themselves,
you're nothing but a hose bag.
So Scully says, "You can't hurt me, Judy," but obviously if you look on her face here, she's definitely hurt. I really don't want to have this conversation in this episode because this episode isn't about getting older. This episode is about doppelgangers.
You're all dried up.
It got cold. It's fucking cold in this room. So we get back to the hotel and we get more of the Mulder-Scully skeptic believer banter that we all love so very much. And then the conversation changes to Scully asking Mulder if he thinks that she is old. Well, as far as I know, Mulder is older than Scully. And in real life, Mulder is older than Scully. So why would you ask somebody older than you if they think that you're old? You guys, I don't want to think about these things. We're watching this episode not to think about these things. Obviously, Mulder loves her and is in love with her, so of course he says she has some scoot in her boot. We then cut to a scene where it appears that Judy and Chuck are playing a game of hangman again, and they're conspiring to hang Dean Cavalier, the attorney, for Archie. Mulder, being suspicious that Chucky is responsible, goes back to Chucky's house again, and Chucky seems nice at first, but then quickly, once again, Karin Konoval's performance is awesome, hands down, balls to the wall, stealing the freaking episode. Scully goes back again and talks to Judy, and Judy's nice Judy, so she's not flinging dookie on her this time or age shaming her, so that's always a plus. But she explains to Scully that you can protect yourself from your evil doppelganger by eating these or taking these bread pills, which are essentially a placebo, as explained by the nurses afterwards. So lawyer Dean goes to Mulder and Scully. Scully once again is skeptical and tells him it's all in his head pretty much, and Mulder is pushing towards the paranormal. Unfortunately for Dean, he ends up losing his head. After that, you see Scully getting into the car and she appears to see her doppelganger. Scully can't sleep very well, she's a little bit freaked out, so she goes to Mulder and she asks him to hold her, which is very, very sweet and shippy, and yeah, we like the way this is going. But we talked about this scene in the beginning of the vlog and my issues with it. I just want to say I do appreciate that their doppelganger didn't hook up and it wasn't like an alternative scene that actually happened between Mulder and Scully, because at least we have that. So then we cut to Chuck and Judy playing hangman again, but it appears that they are trying to hang somebody with the letter L in their name, which Mulder and Scully both have. So Chuck is trying to hang Mulder and Judy is trying to hang Scully because both of them have crushes on Mulder and Scully. They get in a dispute over this and ultimately end up hanging each other and being killed by their own doppelgangers. And Scully is seeing her own doppelganger in the back of the car ready to kill her, and so she's basically being skeptical and debunking her own doppelganger in the back of the car, trying to tell her that she's not real. And meanwhile, Mulder is doing all kinds of crazy Jason Bourne moves again, but this time with himself, which was really well done. But hey, that flip over body slam thing, they're really starting to get that down pat for this season. I really did like the last scene in this episode. You know, he looks like he's ready to go and Scully's like, I'm good. And she changes her mind, obviously, and opens the door and he's ready to go. Once again, I'm conflicted, but I do want to hear what you guys think of this episode. Please leave a comment below. Give me some feedback. If you're conflicted, let me know. If you're not conflicted, if you're over the moon today, let me know. Also, if you like this video, please subscribe. So overall, let me know what you thought of the episode, what you thought of this video. And until next time, we'll talk to you later. Bye!